new crude futures?
I think it's doing well. I mean, it was something that's badly needed. China overtook the United States as the largest oil consumer in 2017. Some of that was due to stockpiling, but it's the harbinger of the future, and quite frankly, about 40% of the world's exported oil will be coming to China by 2040. So it's necessary. It takes risk out of the equation because you don't have to use a third currency to do it, and it represents a bold new future for China.
Do you agree with that?
I think 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks, a little bit short to make a judgment, but at least I think we can be safe to say that the beachhead is established already, right? It's the beginning of a futures market. Hopefully that will have a global influence. I think it provides a lot of leverage for Chinese companies in using the RMB as the settlement and denomination currency for their oil importing contracts, and this is very important. It provides, this is actually a mutually feeding, reinforcing trends. On one side, you want more physical transactions to be nominated in RMB. On the other hand, you have a booming futures market in Shanghai. So it bodes very well. Hopefully, based on the volume that's going on right now, I think we are heading into a safe period for this exchange.
But to follow up on that, I mean, China is not trying to do a worldwide business in crude, and this has to be understood.
Yes,
it's really about regional demand. China's refining capacity is all about these heavier and medium-grade crudes, and this is what the market is specializing in. And to take a lot of the speculation out because of the disaster the last time around, as we were talking about, what they've done is they limited the number of hours, the number of trades you can do, so that you don't get this high-frequency trading. The issue for China is that they want this to be a hedge, a market tool, not a gambling casino, which was what it turned out to be last time.
So in terms of achieving the ultimate goal of China having more pricing power in global markets, how long before China becomes, the China crude becomes, after Brent, after US crude, kind of really the third reference?
My guess is going to take a couple of years at least. It's not going to be that fast. The Brent oil and the West Texas oil, they've been around for a long time, and the trading volume is much, much larger. I also want to add a note, though. I think this is just the beginning of a series of commodities being traded here in China, denominated in the RMB. They're already talking about iron ore to be the next to be listed here. So I think that's a very strong trend. I mean, you can see the epicenter of the world's economic activities. The trade is moving over into the Pacific region, particularly in China. So it's not surprising to see these type of things popping out one after another.
In 1974, Nixon made the deal with Saudi Arabia to create the petrodollar, and it just created a whole new ecosystem, and that began the dollar
ecosystem as well.
Yeah, ecosystem, but that began the dollar hegemony. After that, it just spread into every single area, and that's why you have it. Now, this has been a bit of a danger to the U.S. because at the time they did this, they realized they were drying up the liquidity of these countries, and that's why it was fine to be running these big deficits. So you had to run them, otherwise you would have real problems in the rest of the world. Now, Donald Trump wants to go back on that original deal, but I don't know.
Does he want to give up the strong dollar and the...
I don't think he understands the economics of it. None of his economists who are advising him talk at all about this situation and what happens. So this is the beginning of something, but it could also, in tandem with what Trump is doing in terms of being unreliable and unpredictable, lead to an opening for the international yuan.
We have cable news commentators to these economic advisors. What else do we expect, I guess?
But just continuing on that, if China gets its petro-yuan, rises in prominence, the yuan rises in value, is China prepared for that?
Wait a second. It's not necessarily things. I mean, if China starts to float its currency, which is a possibility given this trade wars. I mean, what you could expect, 50 to 20% according to one of the big investment houses said, look, they did a study of this.
Deutsche Bank?
No, not Deutsche. It was the French one. I'm sorry.
You mean
Credit
percentage of
agricole?
exports to total GDP?
No, they say you float it, they expect
BNP.
an immediate
Oh,
50%
depreciation.
depreciation in yuan and things like that. So you don't necessarily know where these are going. It has a lot to do with confidence. If people lose confidence in the U.S. system, this could seriously jeopardize things. Now, this isn't a great thing for China, because in this kind of unknown situation, you're going to have a lot of things missing. But it does leave China to be the stable entity and gives a different kind of opportunity.
Well, I mean, total internationalization of the RMB, I think there's still steps away. I mean, it's still several years away.
Sure.
This is a privilege, also comes with a lot of responsibilities. I don't think China is ready for that yet. Now, some of our markets are still not
Yeah,
open.
but it's the U.S. exercising those responsibilities. So, in the absence of that, I mean, it took 7 years for the
All
dollar
the rules are being changed.
for the dollar to replace the pound as the
International
top
reserve
reserve currency.